All right, good morning, everybody. Just Today's the yard site of Levi Yitzchak and Sor Sashim Berditchev, one of our great saints of the Hasidic movement, and Eli Wiesel called him the hero of the Hasidic movement. And I really want to talk about the Berditchever, but I also want to talk a little bit about current events. So maybe I'll make a different video about the Berditchever. Maybe we'll learn some Kedushas Levi also. Maybe we'll get the screen reader for that. Anyway, so this whole nonsense going on with this impeachment and the controversy because President Trump used the term lynching, which is a term that people use all the time, not just to refer to actual, people actually getting hanged by vigilantes who are probably acting wrongly most of the time. I mean, they're always acting wrongly. All vigilantes are wrong. There's no, even if the person's guilty, the vigilante has no right to take. It's still murder for a vigilante to take the law into their own hands. That's certainly the Torah approach, meaning somebody is guilty of the death penalty, they're guilty of a sin of which they're liable to receive the death penalty. The only ones who have the authority to give the death penalty are a duly appointed court, and not just some people just taking the law into their own hands, and obviously most of the times with those lynchings, the people were innocent. But I was saying, even in the cases where perhaps they're guilty, it's not the job of vigilantes to take the law into their own hands. But here, there's all this controversy, and there are two tweets that really, I think, bring out everything. One is a bad tweet, in my opinion, from Jeb Bush, where he said the president is not the victim here. He's supposed to be the most powerful person in the world. The issue is, first of all, I don't see anywhere in our Constitution that the president is supposed to be the most powerful person in the world. That's A. And related to that, B, the president is supposed to be one of our fellow Americans. We're equals. And this is related to the next tweet that I'm going to discuss, which is a good tweet, a brilliant tweet. But if we study American history, we have to be aware that George Washington, they wanted to bestow all kinds of titles on him. His Excellency, this and that. They even really wanted to declare him a monarch. And he was very upset about that. In the end, our first president set the precedent that he's not called Your Excellency, he's not called anything other than just Mr. President. Mr. President. That was the title that George Washington felt was appropriate. And a lot of other things hearkening back to Washington. Washington, it's fascinating because President Trump is giving away all of his salary as president to charity. But why is it that he has to even take a salary at all? And it's a fascinating thing. What did they convince Washington? Because Washington did not want to take a salary as president. And it's fascinating I mean, in those days, I mean, you have to understand what kind of world, and I think in particular about Chaim Solomon. I once saw Chaim Solomon's Ksuba. Very fascinating to see. Chaim Solomon, he financed the revolution, and he died penniless. He gave up everything he had personally for the greater good of this country. But Washington, they convinced him he had to take a salary because otherwise only wealthy people could be president. Now, Donald Trump, we've known for a long time, a very wealthy person. I think what we find here is something different. Meaning that there should be no fetters on who could become president. And this whole issue that's going on here is a reaction to the fact that a non-politician, I mean, I remember basically it's like if Ross Perot would have won, except if Ross Perot had run as a Republican, he might have won. But I remember my father, he was very excited by Ross Perot, and he said, this is going to be our next president. It wasn't. But he was fascinated by, he said he's a man, he never even was elected dog catcher. And he's running for president. And I mean, that year he couldn't run as a Republican because he was because it was Bush was running, but and he probably is the one who gave the election to Clinton there. But it's an outsider essentially coming into this club that he doesn't belong in, quote unquote. But that's how the government set itself up. I mean, it's like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. If you ever saw that movie, where basically just because this guy, he was appointed as senator because this senator died, and the governor appointed this guy just to make the governor popular, and then they were upset that he wasn't a politician and he was too honest and he was going to reveal all the bad stuff that they'd been doing. And that's the story. Donald Trump, he knows about all this stuff because Donald Trump is almost like a Chaim Solomon character in a sense, meaning Donald Trump, he's giving up all of his riches for the benefit of America, but what's even more so when it comes to Donald Trump is that he benefited from all of this all over the years, from what from government corruption, and now he is exposing it and trying to destroy it because he wants to give back to America. I really believe that the presidency for Donald Trump is a penance for his past. And it's a great Balchuva story. It's a great, true penitent story here of Donald Trump. And it's tshuva me'ahavas doinus nasis loy kazochius. What we say, that when someone repents out of love, his intentional sins become merits because he turns around exactly where he failed before to be good, and to do the right thing. And it's the same story here as Donald Trump, who did a lot of good things in his past, but recognize that he, I don't know if he recognizes it as much, but maybe now he does, but he knows all of the tricks that they play, and all of this was legal. But we could ask, how ethical is it, this and that, and he turns it around and makes it very positive, and he's helping the American people, and the ruling class see that their days are numbered and that America is being restored, like President Trump said when he was inaugurated. This isn't just passing the baton from one administration to another, but rather it's a restoration of the power to the people, as it was supposed to be from the very beginning. When we discuss this restoration, we have to recognize it in the sense of, oh my goodness, how this is a man who was not part of the ruling class who became president. And if he could do it, we could all do it. And it gives a tremendous amount of hope and inspiration for everybody. And the ruling class is scared by that, because they don't want their power to be taken away. And Jeb Bush is from that mindset. And so for him to say the president is not the victim here is very ignorant of what's actually going on. Now, on the other side, because we should see the president as not just as a president. Meaning that's the idea. Meaning Jeb Bush sees the president as the president. The next tweet we're going to talk about is talking about that the president is one of us. Every president is supposed to be one of us. That's the idea from the very beginning. And so Rudy Giuliani said something incredible. He said, all he's doing is doing his job as a lawyer defending his client. And he said, if he would do what the Democrats are doing to President Trump, if he would do that to a terrorist, all the civil libertarians would perhaps even rightfully be attacking him. Meaning, we have to recognize the president is an American just like everybody else. And it's not just what the president often tweets about presidential harassment, but it's harassment of an American citizen. And what I'm saying here is that if they could get away with doing this to the President of the United States, what's to stop them from doing this to any of us? That's what should scare us more than anything. It's not a partisan issue. It's not about whether you like Donald Trump or dislike Donald Trump. If the ruling class can get away with doing this to the President of the United States, what's to stop them from doing it to all of us? Meaning they're setting a very, very dangerous precedent. And it's scary. And we should be worried about this. That's the issue that we have to look at here. Not just Donald Trump versus the Democrats. This is the ruling class of whatever party versus the American people versus, meaning you can't do that to anybody. You can't treat people this way. Someone who did not commit a crime and treat him like a criminal. And even criminals. I mean, I work in a prison with criminals and I have to protect their rights. Because they do have rights. And that's my job, is to protect their rights. And I'm proud that I'm protecting their rights. And so Rudy Giuliani is right. You can't treat a terrorist the way it's not only they would be all up in arms if he treated a terrorist that way. You're not allowed to treat a terrorist that way, and you're not allowed to treat the president that way. You're not allowed to treat anybody that way. I mean, this is he didn't do anything wrong, and they just want to impeach him. And the other thing that I want to bring up is, they're always talking about the president, comparing the impeachment. They compare it to Nixon, and I'm starting to believe Nixon was given a raw deal, but he didn't even get impeached. I don't think he would have. I don't think he would have gotten removed either. And they compare it to Clinton, and nobody's comparing it to Andrew Johnson. And Andrew Johnson, although he was elected dog catcher, I'm saying he went up through the ranks, but he was also this everyman character. This is a guy who was illiterate until he was about, 25 years old, and his wife taught him how to read, and he became president of the United States. And then he became a senator again after he was done being president. But his impeachment trial is something people should study, even if in a popular way, watching a movie like Tennessee Johnson or listening to You Are There, which you can get for free on the old radio apps. This is what we should really be looking at, because it's another example of a partisan attack on an innocent man, and the abuse of the impeachment process against an innocent man for partisan politics. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'm at work now. I can't talk.